I think, let's see. Okay, perfect. We're ready to go. So, you grew up in Memphis, was it?
Yes, I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee.
And what year were you born? Like, was it the 60s or I don't know.
1969.
69, okay.
All right. Generation Kink is what they call us.
What was it like growing up? Was Elvis still around? Elvis was still around at the time, wasn't he? Was he?
Yeah, he was around. It was, I mean, we could ride our bicycles, our go-karts. It was, a youth in that time frame in America. It was still, Memphis was a pretty big city, but it was still had a real small town charm.
Okay, yeah.
And so, but I dwelled in the city and I always wanted to be a farmer. So it was, it has ups and downs, but I love the city so much I raised my son there.
Okay, yeah, yeah. And did you notice I'm a musician myself, so I kind of Memphis is I always hear about it as being kind of at that time a kind of like a collection of a lot of kind of stuff going on. But did you feel that growing up there, or did you feel like
Oh,
you're the countryside? Yeah.
My dad was a music producer.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Remember? Yeah, yeah.
He worked with Big Star, Stax Records, Ardent, and so he hosted something called the Rock Writers Convention, which was when they were trying to promote Big Star. I think all the filmmakers and photographers were so drunk they don't have any archive of the event. But nonetheless, my father has one of the largest LP 45 record collections in the country. So we were inundated with music. Not so much, we weren't musical. My dad was more disc jockey. If we were singing along, we were interrupting his work. So, so it was a different type of music industry. We weren't playing guitar and piano. My brother and sister ended up playing guitar. And, so music was in our family from, instrument wise, but the growing up, it was more rock and roll.
Yeah. And what kind of led you down the path of photography? Like what was your kind of the calling to that?
Well, it was still a science when it started. It was still very it's magical today, but it was during the film time. And growing up, I was not very good at school. I was more of a visual learner than a book learner. Yeah. And it's just the way it was. So it was always school was a struggle. And with struggle comes temptation. And, because of the struggles early on in Memphis, I was led astray, so to speak, in just negative ways of experimenting with stuff, drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, tobacco, just being. And so I wasn't in touch with myself, my soul, and so where photography, it was weird, because, well, one, people said I took a good picture, but two, there was a real emotional connection where I was beginning to feel emotions that I wasn't afraid of through imagery. And so it wasn't just the basic, oh, that's a pretty picture. It was like, the same way I felt. It was just an exciting process. The way when if you look at a Van Gogh or some other painters, Serratelli, Russian painter. Oh my God. Or Kirchner. You know, there was certain internal resonance. I don't want to sound, you know, but it was like an awakening of the soul. And so, yes, Memphis, you know, it was repressive.
Yeah.
And that's why the music has been so good. You know, so, and so I think that through that, you know, difficult time, photography opened up a way for me to communicate visually, but it was also a way for me to learn about other people.
Yeah.
Documenting them in high school and stuff like that. And then college, you know, I was just fortunate enough to be able to attend college, but to actually get into one, and just happened to be one of the best for art in the United States. And that's when it was just such a beautiful experience. I mean, it gave me a purpose. It allowed me compassion. It gave me confidence, just the process. And it was exciting. I mean, there were goals that you could achieve in the industry. And it seemed real. You know, we were still like trying to get in Life magazine, Time magazine, you know, and then, so that's how I started. And then once I finished art school, it was apparent to me that, you know, by the body of work I had created, it had a journalistic feel to it, or more of a traditional street photography feel. You know, so it's very conservative. I wouldn't scratch the negatives. I might go blur, but I was very, you know, I was trying, you know, I cared what I could do within the frame rather than trying to create a new frame to record imagery.
Yeah.
And then, and the science of it, and the belief that, I mean, if you look at photography dreams today, I mean, come on, it's hard, it's digital, what is that? So it was a different time, self-portrait was like Gary Winogrand style or something, Cindy Sherman. It wasn't a vertical, it was, still horizontal movie stills. So the cell phone kind of changed that, the new generation, they take it to a different level or a different, they go right, some go left, some whatever, some keep traditional. But if you had a business plan and you wanted to make business, there were no such thing as influencers. You couldn't make money being an influencer. You wouldn't get published.
Yeah.
And there was no publication, there was no way to get your shit out without going through an agent. And then the agent goes to the magazine. And by the time the picture's published, you might have 2, 3, 4, 5 different agencies' names on that picture. But still, back in the day, you could make a living. You can make a living today. It's just, I've moved more into video as the DSLR became more capable of recording moving images and audio. When I started, it was just too expensive. People were still shooting 16 millimeter. And then the video, you need a pretty expensive deck to edit with. And the cameras were huge, the beta cams. But I studied all that. I just didn't have the, I just didn't have the support that would be needed to start out on a film production, so that's why I really like the DSLR, because as an independent photojournalist, you did everything on your own. You had to research, you had to story, you had to caption it, you had to edit it, you had to send it, you had to make sure, track it, and then get published. But with film, you have post-production, pre-production, everybody's got a title, and before you know it, your production team is 10 plus. And that type of work relationship can get very competitive and hostile. Even if you're you might be on the same shoot because everybody loves film, but it doesn't mean everybody loves everybody on the production team.
Yeah.
So I never had to really deal with that as a photographer. If Newsweek didn't want it, I could go to Time magazine. If the Americans didn't want it, I could go to the French, Spanish, German markets, Dutch. And you just weren't able to do that. Now you can go to Al Jazeera, you can do it yourself, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram or Twitter or, TikTok. So there's so many different more avenues, so many more opportunities, yet sometimes all those opportunities drown out the message. We are inundated with imagery. And now, it was like before you couldn't pose your subject. Now you don't even know if the image you're looking at has been manipulated. For the most, it's getting better and better and better. Where there was a guy, photographer in Syria, who had his Pulitzer revoked because he was doctoring images. And they didn't catch him till after the fact, a bit of an embarrassment. But nonetheless, that's just kind of that was a real no-no. And it was easier to detect back in Syria than it is today. So do we have a responsibility, even if we have a responsibility, to be truthful to the medium and to the viewership? Where is the community that supports that? We're kind of in a very experimental stage right now with multiple layers of imagery creating one image or doctoring images. It's just getting it's crazy.
It's less, I suppose it's less I think maybe back at the time where you were when you were started out in, was it in Bosnia in like the 90s, was it early 90s?
93, 92, 93.
And at that time they had you kind of had like this, you had like sources, you had kind of reputable, well, not, I don't know if they're reputable, they appear to be reputable.
Yeah, they were. AP, Reuters, AFP, whatever, the German one, whatever. Yeah. So they were, and you're held to high standards. Time magazine, Newsweek, there were real standards that and it would take weeks, so there was no immediacy. If you got a magazine gig, that was a dream job because you could shoot for 3 days without interruption, say in Chechnya. And so you file on the 4th day and they get it on Friday. You had to deliver, you had to find a courier that was flying into like Moscow, wherever the bureaus were. And you would reach out and say, okay, you have to find a phone and call them and say, such and such is on flight, such and such. They land. This is before September 11th. They land in Moscow on this flight. They're wearing a black hat or she's wearing a red dress. And that's how we did it. And then, there was the Lee fax, like the drum scan, not a drum scan, but it felt like it. It took forever. But those were, so that was the beginning of the digitization. Where they started phasing out positive imagery slides, where you're shooting chromes, because we were processing the film in our bathrooms, some very hostile areas, no water, no electricity other than a soup, some type of heating device for your water, taking the temperature, making sure it's archival and it doesn't go to poo after you develop it, so your chemistry had to be spot on, or your the archivability of the work is compromised.
There's that bit in your documentary when I think you're in a bathroom, aren't you? And you're like trying to get the stuff printed out, or you're trying to like get to see if it's working. I don't know what you're doing in it.
I went to Reuters, had a developer inside. I believe Reuters had Reuters had to develop it. I forgot. I don't remember his name. I think Owen or something. So he developed it, and I believe he was with Reuters.
Okay.
Not DPA. He was with Reuters. And so in order to do that, the Guardian would have to contact Reuters and say, we're paying you for your development service and transmission fees. This photographer named Robert is going to hand you a roll of film and you have to develop it. And yeah, that was one of my first pictures in the Guardian. Yeah, I mean, it was huge for me. I mean, I was stoked.
Yeah.
I mean, what, the circumstances, it got me in, but, the story we were trying to illustrate, prostitution kind of got me in trouble. But nonetheless, the pictures hold. Hell, they tried to interview everybody and discredit me. It didn't work. But, it was a lesson learned. I was just eager to get the picture, and get published. It was my first. I'd been published a few times, once in the time, but this is like my first international front page. It was that was a big one. I was real. I mean, I don't have it on my wall, I think, but I was real happy. I was like, maybe the Frontline Club helped organize that assignment. It does take some, you need help from your friends.
Yeah.
So it's for like such a newbie to score a Guardian gig from Tennessee. Come on, somebody had to put my name in the hat. And because I didn't know, well, I knew Maggie O'Kane, and maybe they were, so a lot of the assignments would come from on the ground, especially if Maggie O'Kane was on the ground. She's not going to let her office dictate to her who she has to travel with because of the security issues. It's not that we were traveling together. It was the one and done. And I pissed off the competition was angry with me because they wanted the gig. And, but yeah, it was nice that it didn't end there.
And what was like when what age did you go to Bosnia? What age were you then?
23.
23. Okay. And what was your like, how did you decide upon that career choice? Like, what was the kind of,
when I was in New York, I was doing film assisting. So I would do assisting like 2020 Comedy Central. I would do a camera assist or basically camera assist, set up, breakdown, and just because my friend's dad, he was the camera guy, and they lived in Jersey. I lived in Brooklyn, and so he would come in. That's how he made a living. And so his name was Hang. God bless him. He passed away. But he taught me the video, and while we were on a Comedy Central shoot, I was speaking to a sound man, and the sound man lived with this photographer who was Chris Morris, from Seven, and he was telling me all about Chris and how he was working for Time Magazine contract, and and money sounded good, and I'd won a travel grant from my university upon graduation, and I had to see it through. And I went to Kurdistan because that's what I wanted the grant for, is to return to northern Iraq to film the Kurds. This is 93. And that's where I met James Wild, and the writer, and Christopher Morris at a hotel. And I was talking to James. James, he saw some freelancer and invited me to dinner with him. And that's when I met the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Morris. There's somebody I'd heard about in New York. And was like the first time I knew that you could make a career, more than just a career. You help a lot of people along the way, and and then the work takes on its own life. Everyone's different life it takes on. But so that's how. And then he said, so I was like, wow, I was in awe. And I was like, well, how do you get there? And he's like, call this agent. And I called, and she got me on the flight. And I mean, because there would have been no way I could have got on the UN flight. And I think I had to fake my press pass and all that shit. In the end, I would make my own press passes, and I could get gas from the UN. And I just, my the editor-in-chief was my uncle, and he was going that way later, and he had dementia. And so I'd put him on as the editor-in-chief. So even if they called him, he just talked, whatever. I didn't care. They weren't going to call him. But yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was Europe. It was tragic. It was disgusting what was going on, the war, and the unsettledness of it all. And here we are again. It's like, okay, if I go back to Bosnia, I stood here during this war, and now I'm the new, so it's like, I haven't, and I kept my archive, which is very difficult to do, especially during that time, especially when the agencies were folding, with like Sigma to Corvus, and, everybody wanted to digitize. And then in the end, we were all making like 2 cents a picture, $5 a cover. And it used to be 5,000.
Yeah.
Sometimes 8,000, sometimes 12, so there was real, and so everybody wanted to, that was the only time we shot a vertical was, when we were trying to get on the cover.
Yeah.
Now everything's vertical because, because of the cell phone.
Yeah. Do you still, there's a line in that, which you say, I think you say it not when you're in the Bosnia or in other places, you say it, I think when you're back in Tennessee, but you say, I thought it was a great line. It was, I think it was, if you're not fucked up before you go, you're fucked up when you come back. And do you still stand by it? Do you think you have to have an element in your personality to go do that? Is it like, do you think you can be kind of just, like
normally, absolutely, you just have to have a heart, a commitment.
Okay, yeah.
And but for me, that was my walk. It was, I wasn't a fuck up in college. I graduated with honors. But I but I studied art and went into journalism. Everything takes a toll.
Yeah.
It's difficult, but the most of it is, it's just the, repetitiveness of the difficulties. Then the struggle that you witness, and how it, and you struggle, or I would struggle. And so, yes, there's a lot of processing that takes place. It's best not to go into a situation when you're fucked up.
Yeah.
Because, it's pretty dangerous. And it does have an effect. I said wars didn't fuck me up. I was already fucked up before I went.
Yeah.
And probably why I did so well at it. And I was talking about living in an alcoholic family.
Yeah.
Where you're walking in eggshells the whole time.
Yeah.
So you learn that, you're already reading body language from the minute you wake up.
Yeah.
You're trying to read people. And so, yes, that helped. Unfortunately, it's not like, oh, if your parents are alcoholic, people adapt to it differently. And it's not like people were chasing me around the house with knives, maybe belts, but I mean, whatever, boo-hoo. I grew up in a different fucking time.
Yeah.
And so, but yes, it helped. I mean, I was, sometimes I lived with an uncle who was a Marine, and he, rah, 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 whatever. Yeah. I mean, so everything that we learn as to process, even as a child, that pretty much sets the foundation for the rest of your life.
Did you find it hard to like? I would find it personally very difficult to like not. I don't know if you did help people or like what the like to sort of remain kind of impartial in a way and kind of just photograph everything. I did you have a feeling of I need to help this person or what was your kind of feeling towards that?
Mostly, helping illustrate the story, because we were the only voices in Sarajevo.
Yeah.
There wasn't any digital imagery. No, people can tell their own stories now. So we were like the storytellers. And so, there was a responsibility. Then as this image takes on its own life, I began to see the potential. There was a woman, Layla, the Bambina of Sarajevo. I got my first cover on a magazine and Panorama. That was big. Got a tattoo for that. And but the woman I photographed, I sold it to AP. She lost her eye. She was being cradled by her mother's arms, and it took off. The Italian government just moved into action. This is when everybody was in Srebrenica.
Yeah.
So I stayed in Sarajevo. So sometimes you don't follow the group.
Yeah.
And so, but whatever. And so I was just standing at the hospital, that's where, you don't really want to move. I'm always on foot. So, you'd make your loops. You just wouldn't go, camp out at the hospital. And so as part of the day where I'm at the hospital waiting around, and the image, the one family comes in after getting hit by shrapnel, mother carrying her daughter in her arms, her eyeballs gone, missing an eye. And she was her whole family got flown to Italy by the Italian government or the PDS or whatever, some political. They operated her on her for free. You changed her whole life.
Yeah.
And changed mine. It was Life magazine, picture of the year in Life magazine. Well, so I was really excited. And I went to visit her in Italy, and it was like, I was, and I remember telling the family, because they were mad as shit at me, seeing me standing around with the camera of their daughter about to die.
Yeah.
And I, just said, I've done all I can do. I'm sorry. And, and they apologized for being upset. And I was like, but I can't do anymore.
Yeah.
And I was real upset. And then the next day, the whole country was talking about Layla, talking about this picture on TV, on everything. And I was like, wow, I was like, man, I made it on Life magazine and saved this image, helped save this woman's life. And man, it felt good.
Yeah.
It felt like, it was a terrible situation, but it was, it was the platform of the Associated Press that allowed for that magic for people to show compassion.
Yeah.
And help people.
Yeah.
And
do you like what is it like, that kind of first experience of
I cried.
war zone? Like, is it
first experience in the war zone?
Yeah.
Fuck, nothing. I was too stupid to be scared. I was like walking on Sniper Alley. I mean, just by the grace of God, I didn't get shot. And I'm taking pictures of dead dogs going, why are all these dead dogs in the middle of the road? And, then I get back in the hotel and they're like, hey, asshole, you were just hanging out in the middle of Sniper Alley. What the fuck are you doing? And, if I had known that there was Sniper Alley, I'd have been too afraid to go out. So that's the problem. There's that fantasy, oh, I'll die for my job, blah, 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 blah. I guess, but thank God I didn't become a medical burden to my family, because a lot of shit can happen.
Yeah.
I was lucky, and then, you get hit, most people die by car wrecks anyway.
Okay.
In journalism, a high fatality in car wrecks. And then Sarajevo was different. When I was there, it was kind of peaceful. As the years went on, the mortars started coming in, the rockets started coming in, the snipers got more active. But I still got shot my first year there, and just grace of God, just grazed on the butt, just hot. And that could have really been, a lot of bullets went through the front headrest. Jeff Chagrin could have got hurt in the back. Richard Perry we all could have been hurt. And it wasn't because, it was just wrong place, wrong time. We had got the latest intelligence on the road that it was clear, and we just hit a checkpoint, and we had to bail out of the car. And when we tried to get back in, they opened up on us. Don't know who. And but then again, you was too stupid to even fear those bullets.
Yeah.
I think we made a commercial out of it, trying to pitch Sony camera after it got hit. But so we were trying to make light. It was scary, but you're in the middle of nowhere, man. So scared doesn't help.
Yeah.
And man, it was, and in the end, we got everything stolen, by some bandits. So it was every right I should have given up and said, it was enough. But I couldn't.
So
especially like that. I was like, man, no way. I'm not going, I'm a hard-headed guy, man. I'm going to get back on that horse. I just am. That's just who I am. I'm going to get up.
Well, when you were there, did you kind of like realize that this is what your kind of passion was? Did it fill you with a sort of?
Well, it was in Natchez, Mississippi in 89, 90.
Yeah.
When I got like the pictures of the year, and I was looking at Reza, Sipa, the landslide. There's just so much emotion in it. And it was like, and so I'm in Mississippi in Natchez. I don't know why I went. I just wanted to go, and this is like a photo trip or something. And that's when I kind of understood. That was when I felt the calling.
Yeah.
And so I went back to art school, and they tried to kick me out, saying you're too journalistic, man. And I said, I don't, whatever. I'm here. I'm not switching majors or schools. It was hard enough to apply to college. You want me to do it now again? No way. I'm here. We're here. Get used to it. But it was, it was sorry.
Well, and another thing I found incredible was like a lot of people, in their 20s and everyone goes out partying and stuff, but you were partying in a war zone, which to me is
party on the outskirts. You can't really party in the war zone.
Okay, you're partying in on the but you're partying in war.
Italy, and then but once you got to leave everything in Amsterdam, you can't take it with you to Italy. God forbid, the Carabinieri will fuck you. And then you get into Split. So no, it was pretty sober time, in those war zones. You can't. That's a myth.
Okay. Yeah.
You won't. Nobody's going to put you in their vehicle.
Do you look back at like when at that kind of time period and think like, do you reflect on it much? Do you kind of, what do you miss doing it, or do you, what are your feelings towards it now?
Yeah, I'm just, I'm in a transition stage. I think we're about, obviously look what's going on. It's, I've already documented most of where all this shit's going on. So
Yeah.
I am interested in continuing it.
Yeah.
Very much so. I just have some matters that I've been dealing with.
Okay.
That have me. But what do I miss about it? I don't miss the hotel rooms. I don't miss the struggle. I don't miss cussing myself out for being so old or out of shape. I miss, what do I miss? I miss photography.
Yeah.
I just miss the process. I feel I go when I feel like my services can be of use.
Yeah.
If I'm in Syria, that means nobody's going in there all freaked out. And right now it's well covered what's going on. Ukraine, obviously that battle line is going to move. And so that's I'm kind of looking at that. And then trying to figure out, obviously I wouldn't want to be overseas when COVID hit. And I sure as hell wouldn't want to be an American in Europe when a nuclear bomb goes off and I'm stuck somewhere. And I don't know who's my friend or foe. Not saying that you're a foe, but we're all, you don't know even in Tennessee who's your friend and foe when shit goes south. But at least I know where my land is and where I know where all the nooks and crannies and corn, I know the area really well. So going in when it's small arms fire, Bosnia, small arms fire, jets, rockets, but no jets really. Maybe if the US was bombing, but the most of that shit, Rwanda, agriculture tools, Syria had its jets, Chechnya had its jets and helicopters, Iraq, Afghanistan. But Bosnia didn't. So it's really a small arms, sniping and theft and mortars. So the most difficult thing there was the siege itself, not having adequate food, water, heat, making do with whatever you could. It was very off-grid living, so to speak.
Did you find when you went to the Middle East to cover that, did you in the documentary, it kind of feels like that the US Army was kind of curtailing your ability to give a kind of picture, or was that out of safety that they were kind of protecting you, or?
Both, especially after the, Abu Ghraib stuff came out, there was no real way that you could operate safely without embedding.
Yeah.
Once they beheaded Nick Berg, it was pretty clear that we got kidnapped shortly thereafter. So after my kidnapping in Iraq, I embedded. Yeah, and that was it. And then sometimes as the war went on and Newsweek had greenhouse, accommodations, you could go stay at the Newsweek house as a independent, but you still would have to embed to get outside of the green zone. But so, yes, it was, but that was the way it was, so, and then it's, so I try, I'm not saying Iraq was a completely unjust war. It doesn't look good. Afghanistan was much more justified, but, obviously. But so I focused my time in Iraq because it was the most controversial engagement that the U.S. military was doing and bringing in allies. The Brits were in Basra. I believe I don't know where the Irish were, probably in Basra too, and all over. And so it was different. September 11th happened. Things changed real quick. Europe was stable, so to speak.
Do you feel like in the early 90s was kind of I don't want to call it a golden period because obviously it's a disastrous war. But like for you as a photographer, did you have a kind of level of freedom that maybe you didn't experience with like in the Middle East? Do you think it was
Well, it
better?
depends on what, like early on in Afghanistan, like 97, that was amazing time.
Okay. Yeah.
Chechnya, 96, 97, 99, amazing. Kosovo, pretty free. It was because we weren't targeted. We
Yeah.
weren't being used as props for disseminating propaganda snuff films
Yeah.
where they're cutting off our heads and putting us on YouTube. So you have to change tactics.
Yeah.
We were no longer welcome. And so then, obviously you want to tell the story, but it's hard. You have to be real careful when the journalist becomes a combatant on the battlefield, because they make good snuff films out of us, and it's terrifying.
Is there kind of, what's the atmosphere like between people who are like photojournalists in a war? Are people, do they come together? Are they competitive, or like?
It depends. It really depends on the people.
Yeah.
You have a lot of shoving. There's a lot of dark shit. You
Yeah.
have a lot. You're in an area where there's no rule of law but the gun.
Yeah.
And so a lot of shit can happen, and who's gonna fucking know the difference?
Yeah.
So I tend to try to travel alone. Obviously, why do I want to shoot next to Reuters and AP? It's the picture business is already shit. So you can't make nobody's gonna say, oh, but it's Robert King's image of the suffering. They don't give a shit about that. They don't make us into heroes because of our job. That's the wrong way to do it. But some people travel in groups, and which is nice if everybody knows, first aid. But in the end, if you don't, you just hold everybody's hands while y'all bleed out, and it's what the fuck good is that? No, and but now we're targets. We're legitimate targets.
Yeah.
And by even if it's not bullets, it doesn't matter. Just come into your home country, and if they don't agree with what you are doing, you could have some real problems too. And so it's a very vagabond lifestyle. You have to. There's peaks, and when you hit those peaks, for me, it was finding a rural area to begin to build something. And
do you miss do you miss the old style of camera? Because I thought,
I think when the new generation came in, they were a bit more rough.
Yeah.
I think when we were at the Martin Bell, it was like the sunset on the Gentleman Journalist.
Yeah.
It became different. It became aggressive. It became, in my opinion, dangerous as fuck.
Yeah. Because when I see the photographs that you took, like of those periods, I think I know they're of tragic and difficult things, but they're also very beautiful and kind of like artistic. And you can see that you're trying to frame it, and there's a kind of like a clear goal behind it. But I think maybe with the ability now to take 1,000 photos in like, I don't know how quick you can do it, does that level of kind of like, does that level of artistry get lost a little bit, or do you think it's still there?
Oh, it gets better the older you get, in my opinion, if you can keep doing it, but you have to keep doing it. I think that in the beginning, I was probably trying a little too hard. I had a grid in my viewfinder. I wasn't finding the story. I was just looking for aesthetically pleasing imagery, which is okay. I mean, whatever. I'm working. I'm being productive. You've got to be out there. If something's going to happen, you'll get it. But then, like, Chechnya was big. Afghanistan's beautiful. I think my art background, like, we're all so intelligent with framing, right? This today.
Yeah.
Regardless if it's vertical or, just but we're intelligent visually because we see so much imagery. We might not to know where that image maker came from or who his or her influences were, but nonetheless, you understand we all know because of media. But I think Syria was where I went to more of a copy stand approach because of the graphic and just the amount of violence. And I felt like there wasn't I'm framing death in Syria, and I want it to be copy stand precise. I don't want a pretty picture of a death. I don't want it aesthetically pleasing. The book that I made, you shouldn't be able to get through it.
Yeah.
You're supposed to put it down and walk away. Maybe not walk away, but that's what we did anyway. So, I mean, there's a reason behind it. And then video reawakened my soul again. It seemed like, I was like taking so many photos of, and making a living at it. And then, also wars, but I do other stuff too. And it kills the soul. Once you start making it's better when it's better to visit Germany when you're a tourist, and it's better to have a soul in photography when it's a hobby, because it's a business, and everybody gets in it because it's soulful. It just is. There's magic in that silver hat. There's magic in it. And so we all have that soulful that touches our soul. But then, there's a lot of competition out there, a lot of great people that have souls too. And they just get the job done, and the young ones try to figure out what is the meaning of life. And what's like me, I was struggling, what's my purpose in life? Am I ever going to get published? I didn't know, but I knew where I wanted to be because in Natchez, Mississippi, that's what brought me to feel humanity at its finest. I mean, I didn't know that I could be, I could look at a Van Gogh or a Picasso and, it would do something, my breath would change, my heart would change, my hair would stand on the back of my neck. I'd kind of fucking tremble, just because of the tactileness and the depth and the paint and the color schemes. It resonated, and I was an untrained eye, so I only had emotion to judge stuff by, and but so what? That's not a bad thing either.
Yeah.
But then now, does my emotion that I feel, my passion, my soul, is it relayed in the image? I don't know. Sometimes maybe it depends on the person and how they interpret imagery, but isn't that the goal?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, and I always think if there's art, if the person doing the art, if they're honest and it's something that is important to them, then I think that their work will affect other people. I think that it transpires. I do think it comes through in the image, and I think a lot of what I saw in that documentary come because of how kind of, I think, honest and transparent you are. It sheds a real light into I obviously have no idea about what that's like because I've never been there, but it's really eye-opening. It's a real kind of like, I think it's a great documentary to just see what it's like to be in this sort of position and the role of the photographer. And I did think it definitely touched my mind though. Yeah.
Richard and Vaughn, and
Yeah.
it was their work and their footage that made me look so good. Yeah, really. I mean, all that bombing and shit. I mean, yeah, we got, but and yeah, no, I mean, and Vaughn lost so many colleagues from the Frontline Club. That was an honor for me to be a part of it, to be the vehicle. I'm sure they would wish they had somebody but me, but whatever. I was the only one willing to play ball.
I personally think your story was great though, because it was like the fact that you were kind of like didn't know what was going on in the beginning, and you're just sort of going with what was happening. It made me relate to it so much because you weren't like this kind of, you were figuring it out, which I found that really engaging. Like to almost be with you.
We were using microfilm to do the research. So, I mean, if anybody in today entered your car as ill-informed as I was, I would not allow him in the vehicle. We have so many more tools today to educate ourselves about the situations that we cover, regardless of parachute in. And so, yes, I mean, I couldn't even name the leaders of the conflict, but whatever, I was there.
Yeah.
And for Sarajevo. And I didn't give that wasn't relevant. The people were relevant, and I hadn't met them yet, so I didn't know their names.
Yeah.
But ideally, that's not good. That's noble, but that's not professional. It was very, it was just try till you die kind of approach. And whatever, I mean, fuck it. I mean, I don't think you need that. I think there are tools that are available that allow you to get more information and understand what it is you're actually going against. Who are the players besides just in the government? Where are the motorcycle gangs? We couldn't figure out that shit then. Who's running because obviously weapons just don't show up there.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to move them in, and somebody's moving them out, and somebody's antagonizing it and planning it. Yeah, it's a dangerous, especially now with all the surveillance.
Yeah.
It's more dangerous to do what we do today than it was when I started.
Yeah.
Because everywhere, whether they're filmed, unless the government has completely collapsed, you're a threat to the you don't want, they view you as a threat. And then the locals who are actually dying don't really want the camera in there around.
Yeah.
They lost faith in us, and they've lost trust in in our process, that what worked, because they don't need us anymore. I can go live now. This is my story, and this is this person who's, treating me bad, or this is the crime that's being committed. So that's live, and everybody has that capability. Facebook has billions of users, hundreds of millions. New York Times doesn't have that many runs.
Yeah.
So
I think you lose credit. I think one of the major drawbacks of this as a sort of societal thing is you lose trust in a narrative or story because there's so much information now.
It's hard to verify.
Yeah, yeah, and it can cloud the. I think a lot of times it can cloud, and also for some in a weird way actually move people towards opinions that they may not have had otherwise, and I think it can cause a lot of damage, especially politically, towards certain subjects.
It's dangerous, and they can use the law. I mean, look at Assange. Look at, I mean, McAfee. You know, look at these whistleblowers that. Well, Assange didn't work for the U.S. government, but they want to charge him with espionage act, the Espionage Act, and he's not even American. So the stakes are real.
Yeah.
And the silence is numbing. So nobody's got your fucking back. You get picked up by the government, you're on your fucking own. Nobody's going to stand out there with a sign. Even if they do, what difference does it fucking make? You know? And it's crazy.
Is it? Sorry, go on. Sorry, go ahead.
It's just, what if a hostile government picks you up? You know, I mean, look what they do in a civilized world.
Oh, just maybe it's a good time now to move on to the McAfee documentary, and just because I thought, first of all, it's one of the most sort of mind-blowing documentaries I think I've watched. Just the story of it in itself is just like one event after the next event, and you're just kind of like, it's like some sort of weird acid trip or something. Do you, first of all, I just have to ask the question about his neighbor first. Do you believe that he committed that crime? And then secondly, do you think the circumstances, what about the circumstances around his death? What do you think about the narrative around that as well?
I like the film by Charlie at Curious Films a lot. I don't think he killed his neighbor.
Okay.
I think that he, you know, I believe that he uncovered something and they tried to pin the death on him. Now, that being said, maybe one of his girlfriends or security or somebody else did the, you know, killing for him. I don't know. I never saw a violent, vindictive side of John, and I spent a lot of time with him.
Yeah.
He was very just kind, really. You know, I mean, I didn't, you know, even the women he dated love him. You know, you don't hear much. I mean, there's some, so I don't know the details. I didn't see it. And then the second part was
his death, around his death.
I feel the narrative, well, it's John McAfee, yeah. It's, so do you say that he died or he was murdered by the Spaniards and leave it at that and have all anger directed towards the Spanish government? Or do you give people an out to believe that maybe the world isn't such a cruel place? So I don't, you know, and that brought eyes and controversy to the film. And so I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he might be alive. I mean, it's over 300, you know, 800 days counting. He's not been buried. Apparently,
really?
He's still in the morgue.
Wow. So there is a possibility that he kind of paid someone, or like something happened and he.
I don't know. I mean, then again, I mean, I don't know how corrupt Europe is. I didn't think you could just buy your freedom in Europe like that and disappear.
The thing that strikes me as odd would be, I mean, if he was in the US and he died by suicide, I would be very suspicious. But I'm part of me questions it just because it's Spain. You know, I know Spain because I'm pretty close enough to it. It would, to me, that would be, I would be
Well,
shocked,
Bane
you know?
and Bane too are pretty shitty places.
Yeah, I mean,
And he
but
was,
yeah,
as an
yeah,
American, an elderly American with a limp who didn't pay his taxes. So a
yeah,
rich old American. You don't know if it was suicide, a jihadist,
yeah,
a leftist, you don't know, or just an anti-American
yeah,
individual. But and then how long can Spain play the game? I don't know. I mean, I don't see Spain that corrupt. I don't think it's Spain's problem. I mean, it is their problem, but I think it's a European issue. They picked him up on maybe an expired passport or a passport that was reported missing by some bullshit charge. And the charges they were holding him on, the arrest warrant was issued out of Tennessee, West Tennessee, for tax evasion. And our state does not have a state income tax. So if John was to be charged for tax evasion, it would have been by the federal government. So I think what happened was the district attorney here was cleaning his books because he was he was stepping down. His tenure was up. And so he just fuck it, fuck them, and then issued the arrest warrant for John, which charges have been dropped. And but because they did the red notice through Interpol, Interpol has to service it. And now he's in jail. And he was running from, so I don't know what happened, but I do know that I saw people wanting to collect him. And but I don't see, how is I don't, is people won't talk about it in Europe. I've tried to get people to go tell me what the hell's going on. And I don't want to go there. I'm afraid to go to Europe right now. I mean, if John's body was back, I would say, okay, where's the next war? But they're holding him. And so I'm like, do I want to get caught up in that shit?
yeah, yeah.
And for not paying my taxes, oh my God, I got audited, whatever. And I paid, thank God. I love the IRS. But because I owed him the money, I did. I mean, I just, but prison's prison. Any death in prison is suspect.
Yeah.
John wasn't going to kill himself.
Okay.
He was too involved in the crypto space, and he knew he was going to get out. He just didn't want to go to America anymore.
You don't think there's any chance that he, under this pressure of the circumstances, that the idea of being put back to America, being in prison, that could have pushed him over the edge, or do you think he was solid enough mentally not to do that?
I think he was solid enough mentally.
Okay.
There was a rumor that I think there was a report from Janice that a prisoner showed John a pair of underwear that the prisoner's girlfriend had sent the prisoner. John took that underwear and put it on his face and tried to tell the story. I entered Germany like this under COVID, and everybody was laughing, but he put the guy's cum rag on his face. And he's in prison. They don't take kindly to that.
Yeah.
He's American.
Yeah.
And then you see, and he's older, so he's extremely vulnerable.
Yeah.
And you're locked in with predators, opportunists, criminals. They don't care how old you are. They just know they can beat the shit out of you a lot easier, especially if he had a limp because of his ripped Achilles. And there was no indication that, he was going to fight it. He was saying in the video, I've paid tax. He was going to fight it, from what I understood. Now, how he would, obviously it's been, Janice admitted that he was writing sending notes that they were tweeting. So he wasn't tweeting from inside the prison. He didn't have, he maybe had 2 phone privileges. I don't know. I've never been, I don't know how many phone privileges a prisoner gets. And so I don't think that you can just disappear, in Europe. It's not Europe's, you got to have a shit ton of money to do that. And why would Spain agree? Why would they say, yeah, okay, say that you died in our Spanish prison? What benefit does the Spaniards have with that? A high profile prisoner dead in your prison, who's an elderly, 70 something years old, charges that were dismissed. I mean, but there were rumors that he was building a Catalonian Bitcoin. So he was putting his foot in where there's a lot of controversy. And I don't think he really read the situation well. And I don't know what his relationship with Janice was at the time. I don't, so I mean, then all those matters because Janice was his bedrock. Without her, he's even more alone. And then, he would typically just everywhere he would go, he would, travel with the security crew. And then when he got to a new spot, he would ditch them and hire a new crew. And so who knows, I lived in Europe. I see what happens to unaccompanied elders, and it's not, it's scary. It's not, as an American, it's scary because, we've been at war for so many years. You're bound to have so many enemies.
Yeah. What do you think about the accusations around his father and his daughter? And what did you pick up on? You said that you thought he was a very kind person. Did you see another side to him, or did you just see that kind of generous?
A kind side. Now, I knew there were rumors that he might have killed his dad, but I didn't. I'm on the open seas with him. I'm not going to get tossed off the boat in the middle of the Atlantic.
Yeah, of course.
And it wasn't part of my story. But so we didn't discuss his dad.
Yeah.
We never mentioned his daughter.
Yeah.
We spoke of his mother, who he loved, and he spoke about her quite a bit. Not too much, but he would spend a lot of time. I got the impression that they spent a lot of time together. They went to church together, and they were pretty close.
And what happened with he was? It only kind of hints at it in the documentary about how he was like a sort of spiritual guru for a stage, was he? Or is
yeah, I wrote 3 meditation books.
Okay. And
3.
Did he sort of descend back into lots of drug use then, or what? How did that?
No, what he told me is that he opened up his retreat to the public and somebody tripped and tried to sue him. And then he realized that it was all, that was before the loss of his nephew on the ultralights. So I don't know why he left. I mean, I asked him a lot about it. It was funny. We were talking on who his gurus were and stuff. And he had a big old butcher knife and the boat's rocking. And I'm talking about yoga with a big old knife waving it in my face. It was pretty awesome. Just the contrast of yoga and a man who's no longer doing, talking about it. But really, I was like, why did you do it? No, to get laid, But I think he touched a lot of people. Yeah. I'm not into that, but whatever that was like John. I mean, the giving guy, oh my God, he's giving him meditation secrets and secrets to, and transcendence. He believed it. No doubt. John doesn't do anything he doesn't believe in. from what I, from what I could tell. And he just, something, I don't know what it was that, moved him from that. And I don't know when, and so when he decided to drink again, that was his choice.
Yeah.
Nobody made him do it. Nobody. It's the individual that picks up the drink or the drug and whatever. It's sobriety is, there's no perfect answer to it. It's just one day at a time. But that didn't mean, you love, I always, he handled it well. It didn't matter how off kilt he was still the brightest, smartest, most innovative person in the room, period.
Was he doing lots of like drugs at that stage when you were with him on the boat?
I didn't see it directly, I knew there was some stuff going on, but so I know, John and I, we weren't doing drugs together.
Yeah.
So he, no, we're in the Bahamas, you're not going to advertise. But you could see the psychosis and the twitching but we all were, going on something, it was like, if anything's going to happen with McAfee, it's from 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. And it's kind of hard to set your clock for that. So you're up for days just with him too, trying to keep, and learning about crypto. It's not like we're let's get high, he's writing scripts, he's innovating cryptocurrency, writing new code, trying to figure new things out. And so it was, and you get into a certain age and, maybe that, it's a little stronger than an Adderall. It's still an amphetamine. So that's what he needed. He didn't kill anybody. It wasn't like illegal. You buy the shit at the gas station. But it's, it's some whatever. John believed it was no one's right to tell him what he can and cannot do to his own body.
Yeah. No, I'm not making a judgment on the drug taking. I'm just more about like his kind of cognitive ability under the influence. That's what did you?
Amazing. Fucking amazing. A machine.
Okay. Yeah.
He was like Big Blue.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was water, whatever. He was drug proof. Didn't matter how much you threw down him. He was spot. Whatever he's laying down, he was a kind man, even when he was drunk. He was never. There was never any. Everybody says. So no, I don't take shit personal. Remember, I grew up and I deal with my demons. I deal with, sobriety. So I wasn't judging him on that. The bath salts, he talks about doing it. So it's not like I was snitching on him. Fuck, he was, talking about doing it on Twitter all day long, how great it is. And whatever, his body worked differently. I didn't know him as a child. I had a real purpose on this story, and that was trying to clear my name and Rocco's name, my name really, but by default, but clear our name for sure on this misguided propaganda that was used to destroy our careers. So I was real grateful that John would allow me back in to document because of that betrayal at the early stages of our filming.
And did you feel like were you do you think you were being followed constantly like that? I wasn't sure in the documentary whether you thought that that wasn't happening or was happening, or
didn't really know in the documentary. I mean, like in the Belize, no, I didn't think anything of it. Tennessee, I knew to stay away because he was eyes on him.
Yeah.
He was in March. Then Bahamas, I saw it when it all went to shit. But then I didn't really, but I saw them try to collect him, but I didn't know how deep it went until my dogs started getting shot. Jesus. Or John's started getting shot.
Yeah.
And then I knew, and then he died on my dad's birthday. So those coincidences, you know, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in consequences.
Yeah.
And that was, that kind of threw me back on maybe this story's bigger than we really know.
Yeah. Well, if
maybe something going on. Or maybe people just hate John McAfee and they shoot his dogs wherever his dogs are.
But what was the instance around your dogs getting shot? Was that in Tennessee?
Tennessee, I took John's dogs.
Yeah.
And it was, I think, the day we made the agreement to sell the film.
Yeah.
His dog got shot.
That's very weird.
Yeah. 7 times.
That's and do you think that there's kind of like it's mentioned a few times about him having hacked, like information from the government, U.S. government. Was that true? Did he have it, or?
Yeah, definitely from Belize. I mean, he uncovered a future rice attack where the Hezbollah, Iran, was sending Hezbollah fighters to Belize. The Belizeans were getting fake passports of dead Amish or Mennonite, and they were giving those to the Hezbollah, and they were infiltrating into Mexico and then crossing over into the U.S. to potentially conduct a ricin attack. And there was people here that got arrested for ricin that same year. So you can see it in the news, and then you can Google that, Hezbollah, Belize, passports, and the Israelis pick it up, the British pick it up, a few other, Mexico picks it up. And so, he uncovered that, I think. But then what made him more dangerous is a lot of the hackers wanted reaffirmation of their hack. And so they would share the details of the information they retrieved from their hacks with McAfee. Oh, and so I think that's where he got in trouble. People just sending him random shit,
Yeah. And was he like, or the question I'm trying to get is that, like, in the documentary, it's very kind of, you're left, certainly after watching it, you're left not knowing what kind of a person he is, whether you're kind of left with both sides of the aisle open to think,
yes,
you're not like, even though you get all the information, you're not any the wiser whether this guy is like the worst person ever or the best person ever. It's very hard to decipher through that information. Do you think the documentary is like do you think it's trying to make an image of him? Do you think that that it's kind of shaped in a certain way, or?
I mean, it's hard for me to criticize the documentary.
Yeah.
McAfee wanted to work with this company. Then they got the footage, he got arrested, and he died in prison. So my main goal was to use the film regardless, because I didn't have a say. John, I was honoring John's request that, I wanted to bring light to the situation that here he's murdered and there's no body. They haven't, the family hasn't received the body. There's been no funeral. And so I felt that with that Netflix platform, that they needed to get that production out rather than sit around and debate it for 6 more months on, is it going to be a mini series or a short, traditional length documentary.
Yeah.
And so I was like, look, let's get it out. We've waited too long. Let's go. And so I was real happy with it. I think it was obviously everything there was filmed. Now, however they edited it together and pieced it, that's Charles' job, and he just did a good job.
Yeah.
Everybody was kind of dealt a shit hand when he died. The story was not, Robert and the geodata. It was John McAfee. But once he passed away in prison, Robert and the geodata, Robert Rocco geodata, that became a narrative that worked. But it was, it was the truest narrative of that film, besides John, why we're there, why I'm here. So I was, I wanted to clear my fucking name. I didn't want to be accused of throwing John in jail in Guatemala and then him dying in another jail in Spain. That's going to get me killed.
Yeah. Is there, do you still feel pressure from that? Like, do you still feel, I've
been in lockdown. I haven't left, I haven't been out, I don't even go into the city. I hide. I'm not hiding. I'm just dealing with other stuff. So I haven't really been able to, I'd like to have gone to cons or, Sundance. Hey, I'm Robert King. La, la, la. Did you see this shit on Netflix? But just to network. But I haven't been able to do that. So I don't want to. I want to network on a story when I'm working, and not just say, oh, did you see this film? And it. So, what was the question? Sorry.
Do you still feel like, is your life still impacted by the association with McAfee? Do you still feel the pressure of that, like that kind of like being a target or being kind of potentially having some sort of heat on you?
No, I think they understood it. I photographed kings, future kings, politicians, generals, soldiers, American soldiers, British soldiers, French, Italian. I think they felt that I wasn't betraying them, because with the geodata leak, everybody needs to bring closure to the death of a loved one or friend or battle buddy. And geodata leaking would be on the top of the list. How did that mortar get here? How did they know we're here? How did they know our position? And so, now, but authorities don't. No, I haven't. But see, I don't put myself in a situation where I'm in a loud crowd and everybody's giving me their opinion on my subject matter. So I think it couldn't have come at a better time in my life for this film, because I was dealing with such evilness in Memphis right now that they wanted to try, those people that were evil would try to paint me as a do-nothing ne'er-do-well to fit their narrative theft. And so that film, how do you say I'm not working? This shit's on Netflix. it's kind of hard to say. I mean, it's so hard to get on Netflix, especially the budget we didn't spend. That, that was a real, oh man, it was under COVID, so it's a tough sale. So I think it's more of a testament to the tenacity and stick-to-itiveness and I think the powers that be, when they watch it, they would understand why I was so invested in it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a fascinating, it's just it's such it's an interesting story, like everything around him seemed to be just very, very intriguing. I mean, I get it completely from a kind of journalistic point of view, or like why you'd want to be in there making a film or whatever,
He's running for president, and he could have, maybe they killed him because he ran for president. If he won the Libertarian Party, he can take 2% of the vote, and that's enough to sway elections.
Yeah.
And I think if you had a Biden and Trump ticket, if you got McAfee up on stage, it's anybody's game. And so they eliminated him.
I think Robin's I think I'm gonna end it there. I think the audio is kind of slightly fading for some reason, but that was, I think, absolutely fantastic interview. And yeah, I'm just gonna stop recording. I'll talk to you after that.
Okay.